So tell me more about water collection and reclamation and the major reasons why we should be concerned with it. And specifically what I've heard about is the depletion of our natural aquifers. So give me all the details on water and why we should make headway and be concerned about it right now in human history.
So I just went to the Southwest Water Conference in fall of 2006, and one of the things they stressed was that the aquifers all throughout the U.S. are going down an average of 3 to 5 feet per year.
Okay.
And as the aquifers keep getting shallower and shallower, there's arsenic underneath the bottom layer. And so as it gets shallower and shallower, the wells that are in it start slurping up that arsenic. So then it risks poisoning the whole aquifer for all the different wells that are drilled down to that aquifer.
Wow.
And so the main reason that we want to be harvesting water, catching it off of our roof, storing it in tanks, and then collecting the rest of the water that lands on our property, in our yard, through swales and eventually ponds and areas where it can slowly percolate down is one, so we recharge the aquifer, and two, so that by using the water that we harvested off of our roof, now we don't need to use the city water. We don't need to use the well water. So we're giving it a break. We're recharging it and we're not using it, because the urban populations of civilization are just using more water than the aquifers can bear. So that classic word sustainable, it's not sustainable for everybody to keep using the water at the rate that we're using it, because we keep having less water in the aquifers. So another reason why we want to harvest water is because we can get cleaner water, because a lot of the urban water that's supplied by municipal water that comes in off the street, usually it's indirectly comes from some reservoir or dam, it's got nitrates in it, and it's got little bits of chemicals, and there's whole listings that government agency water departments have of allowable levels of parts per million of all these really scary chemicals. And when the water comes from the sky and lands on your roof, it doesn't have any of those in it. Now it's all about what kind of roof do you have and what kind of tank, and are there any chemicals in that. And then, like, a bird flew by and you get bird droppings on your roof. So still, your water that you catch on your roof, you still are going to run it through filters, but you're going to use those under-counter filters. You're going to use a 4-filter system with the 20 micron and the 5 micron and the charcoal and the UV, and you're going to get rid of all the particulates and the chemicals and the bacterias and the virus. Only 10% of the water that we use needs to be potable, run through that 4-filter system.
That's a really low percentage.
And that's the water that we use in our kitchen. We wash our food with it, we wash our dishes with it, and the water that lands on our bodies. Your skin is like a big mouth, like 60% of whatever lands on your skin, it's like you ate it. Right? And so you don't want you don't want to bathe in chemical water. You want pure water. So for brushing your teeth and taking a bath or a shower, that water should also be refined to the potable level. But the other 90% of the water in your cistern doesn't have to go through all those cylinders. And it still looks clear, right? Even though it had bird dropping in it. Right? I mean, it's a minute part per million in it, and so that harvested rainwater can be used in the washing machine. Right? You're not going to have bacteria on your clothes. And then if you use that water again, the gray water, everything except the toilet water, so dishwasher, laundry, sink, tub, shower, all of that gray water can be collected and used again immediately. You can put it on your fruit trees, but if you run it through a simple wastewater biocell, then you can bring it back to potable again. Some groups just like to use that water immediately to fill the tank in the toilet to flush the toilet. If you have xeriscape landscaping, drought-resistant landscaping, that's a way to minimize water use in your landscape. However, if you are collecting all the other water besides your roof and detaining it on your property as long as possible, you can use that water as well as all your gray water to grow food. You can grow vegetables, you can grow medicinal healing herbs, you can grow fruit trees, and the water that comes out of your black water toilet reclamation, you want to get rid of all the pathogenic bacteria. And in another module on this video I discussed that. But most people psychologically just never trust it no matter what. They know it was in the toilet at one time regardless of what all the lab tests say. And so for them the real safe thing is, oh, you want ornamental flowers? Water the flowers with it. Or any kind of food that grows on a tree, by the time it goes through the tree root system and up the trunk and the branches and it's a bud and then it's finally a nut or a flower or a fruit or an avocado, the tree is never going to transport any pathogenic bacteria into that fruit, so it's very safe. Part of the reason we want to detain the water on our site and percolate and recharge into the aquifer is because when the water drains through all this earth and dirt, the earth is this huge filter, and there's a big like mycological mat. You've got all this mushroom root system that's another filter, but there's just zillions of good bacteria and critters who live in the soil, who perceive everything as a nutrient, or they neutralize chemicals and toxins. And so if the water gets to percolate, it gets naturally cleansed and filtered before it gets back into the aquifer. But if it drains down your driveway and goes into the storm sewer of your paved road and eventually finds its way to some catch basin that goes to some creek that then goes to your swamp, your river, your creek, your ocean, your lake, your whatever, that system is known as watershed.
Okay.
So now you've got this water, this runoff, is flowing into the watershed, and it's taking with it all these fun things that dripped out of your car, antifreeze, oil, all the toxic stuff that all the conventional people used in their gardens, a lot of toxic garden chemicals, and anything that touched plastic along the way has these wonderful estrogenic effects, so that then this water ends up in the watershed, and you've got all these fish and birds and reptiles having estrogen dominance and birth defects and mutation. All the males aren't having enough maleness in their reproductive organs, and they're starting to get they're starting to grow female gonads on the males, and you can go look at all your wildlife restoration websites on the internet to learn more about that. That's not my specialty. Just to say, in the built environment, if we can retain the water on our site and percolate as much as possible, that's really going to help the environment.